We continue our working day, and now I give the floor to the representatives of SBU, Oleksandr Tkachuk. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we are going to speak about the issues that are connected with procedural actions of SBU in one of the campaigns, in one of the companies, and on the 12 and 13 of April, our officers conducted searches in order to stop the activity of online casino, a network of sites where casino services were provided to the public. We documented the functioning of online casinos in the territory of Ukraine and the participation in this gambling business, the direct participation in the casino activities and participation in gambling, that it was carried out by the Ukrainians, and the organizer of this business is the citizens of Russian Federation. And today, according to the decision of investigators, they decided to carry out some examinations of the equipment that was seized, and also main suspects of this case were invited for the interview. So we carried out activities in this area for a long time, and this work was started in 2015, and our investigators succeeded in the case, and they documented several cases of the illegal online casinos in the territory of Ukraine. And we can say that we have proofs, grounded proofs, that this company and the persons who administer these sites, online casinos, these persons have direct responsibility for these actions. So I would like to remind to you that this year, starting from 2016, SBU stopped the activity of 15 networks of gambling institutions in Kiev, Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and other cities. In January this year, together with General Prosecutor's Office in Shevchenkivsky region of Kiev, they've seized the casinos that worked in one of the restaurants, and the officers confiscated poker tables, roulette tables, and also some tokens and servers with video files that shows that the visitors there were, and also 3 illegal institutions, and their activity was stopped in Shevchenkivsky, Pechersky, and Darnitsky region of Kiev. And they confiscated more than 130 equipment units and also tables for gambling. So, and now we have lack of funds in this country, and military actions continue in the east of Ukraine, and the state needs the involvement of additional resources in order to defend itself. That's why we can say about the moral aspects of this activity. Last week, we documented one of the episodes of the illegal activity. We are at the stage when, according to the decisions of the courts, we carried out a number of searches. It is the illegal activity that is qualified by investigations according to Article 203A and 258.5. This is the financing of terrorism. So I will tell you about this in more detail and why we believe that these crimes were made. And also, we do not exclude, and we only started to analyze the materials that were seized, that these actions will be qualified in accordance with other articles of the Criminal Code of Ukraine. Why we say about gambling, not about the development of software for gambling? Because according to our data, those persons that developed the software, they also, together with other persons, they administer and technically support the activity of the site where these platforms were placed for online casinos, and also they supported the work with clients and servicing of those persons who enter these sites in order to gamble, and also financial servicing of this business. Also, they carried out formation of the client base, so it is illegal work with personal data of the clients, because in these databases, the information accumulated on passports, dates of birth, also about names of people and other data that is considered confidential. About self-financing of the terrorism. Now we can say that we suspect that because there are many clients on that site, they are in the occupied territories, and these mechanisms of financing and transfer of funds to the online platforms, and those money that they got in the course of gambling. So this money were provided for the activities in the occupied territories, and in order to document this activity, this requires a lot of effort from our investigators. We will also involve other law enforcement bodies, and we will cooperate with them in this direction. And this is one of the main and important directions, because it is directly related to the competence of our service, and that is why, and out of this reason, our service decided to investigate the activity of this network of online gambling. Also, I would like to stress that there is no personal pretense or some attitude towards IT company Lucky Labs. We don't have any personal attitude towards this company. The public should understand the atmosphere and what the searches were conducted and procedural actions were taken in this company. Because, as I said, the searches were conducted not only in the territory that is controlled by this company. Firstly, we seized only those computer equipment that, according to our data, could contain evidence materials. So it is about each 10 computers. So 1 in 10 computer was seized, and we had data that gave us grounds to believe that there could be some evidence, proofs. Moreover, the search was conducted for 2 days, and Criminal Code provides that at 10 p.m. The investigators stopped the search in order that it won't be be interpreted as psychological pressure on the present persons. So it was done in civilized manner. They stopped the search, and then the next morning they started the search again, as it is required by the Criminal Code. Also, in press releases on the website of our service, in the course of search and investigation, we didn't mention the names and the title of the company that are suspected, and it won't be interpreted as the pressure at some physical or legal persons. We will continue our work in this case in our normal mode, and after pre-trial investigation, we will provide the materials to the court, and then the court will take decision on this matter. On the persons that are suspected in this illegal activity. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready for the question. Thank you. Please introduce yourself first. Kversernia Dvornikova, Fifth Channel. I have several questions. Do you have those who are detained? We don't have persons that are detained in this case. We didn't inform them on suspicion either. And what is the circulation of this virtual casino? So thank you for your question. We are speaking about a number of online services, let's call them like this. This is not a website, one resource where the criminals committed some crime. We are speaking about the network, and we have operative materials and also materials seized in the course of procedural actions last week. And according to the preliminary data, we are speaking about 2014 getting the profit in the sum of about $3 million US dollars. And three co-founders of this service, they wanted to share this money among themselves. And about the time, you said that this casino network was started in 2014. These people came here in 2013, and the business was started its work in 2014. Do I understand correctly that this network belonged to Lucky Labs, or is it only about computers? Thank you for your question. It's difficult to say about direct link between the company as a legal person, Lucky Labs, to the illegal business that we document, but from the territory of this company, from the territory and with the use of computers that belong to this company, and the persons who worked in this company, this legal activity was carried out. So only in these computers these clients played, or throughout Ukraine. The matter is, from these computers, according to our preliminary data, they administered and serviced the clients, and also they service separate financial operations, or operations that are considered as financial. When to the electronic accounts, if a person wants to play, the funds are provided and the person starts to use this program, and then they have some questions. The person addresses to the appropriate specialists of this company, and through those sites where these services are provided, and the gambling is carried out. A person can win or lose, and respectively, the site works further. So these three co-founders, they are the citizens of Russia. Among those co-founders who took direct part in the organization of this gambling business, there are citizens of Russian Federation. And not to infringe investigation, we don't name the persons who are connected with this case, but the citizens of Russian Federation who came here, they are, according to our data, the main ideologists and organizers of this business. And $3 million of the United States, so these were the money of Ukrainians. These sites were present not only in Ukraine. In some states, gambling games in online casinos, they are not illegal, but we have here legislation that forbids this activity, and SBU works in the framework of current laws. And if there is new law, we will do accordingly. But we adhere to the law. And the matter is that there are some profits not only from gambling in the territory of Ukraine, but also in other states. We don't know, but we will investigate and in the framework of our criminal proceedings. There are some legal aspects and moral aspects. Because they say that they just create software and they are not interested what are the purposes. If I created a program, for example, and someone intruded in the nuclear reactor structure, so I believe that this is the problem of those who do this. But we should speak about joint responsibility, because persons who develop the software, they understand clearly why they do it, and prostitution in some countries is legal, and if they bring our girls to other states, is it a real good investment to the economy of Ukraine? The same with drugs. Is the matter of it's a sinful and wise thing. And in some countries, some drugs are legal, but we cannot crop them here because this is illegal. Do you have some other questions? About Russian servicemen, do you know update on the number of the servicemen? What is the number? What is the statistics that you usually provide? And the second question, there is a program that the militants can turn themselves in. What is the number of that people? So thank you for your question. As to directly the assessment of Russian presence in the territory of our state, the SBU actively works with the Chief Intelligence Department and with the National Security and Defense Council and with other intelligence bodies and law enforcement bodies of our state and with Border Control Service. And our assessment coincides with those that is provided by the Council and the MOD, Chief Intelligence Department. And the number of drones increased that get in our hands, and we analyzed the data that is present in these devices. And also we have some categories of military equipment that are in the territory that is occupied and that are controlled by the citizens of Russian Federation, active officers of Russian military forces. So these are radio and electronic equipment and also the systems of anti-aircraft defense that are deployed in the territory of LPR, DPR. And also it is about such complex system as system of artillery fire that work long-distance systems that require high-precision equipment and parameters. As to the program Return Home, it is working actively, and now we can state that more than 50 militants. These are not militants. They are the members of these illegal armed formations. They returned to the Ukrainian territory, and it was a difficult way, and they went through Ukrainian courts because any militant or he do not return with some promise that you just come and we forgive everything. The man should go through the procedural and criminal actions, and only after the court decision on that person, that the court establishes that this law didn't commit heavy crimes and that this person was just a sufferer of Russian propaganda, and that he took the arms in the hands, but this person can be exempt from the responsibility. In such a case, a person can return home to his family. And during 7 last weeks, this program is actively working, and we see that in the territories of DPR and LPR, there is disbelief. People lose their faith in some prospects of these illegal formations of so-called LPR and DPR. Next question. I have a comment. And what is the time? What is the? It was started in August 2014, and what is the number of people who returned starting from 2016? I don't have the figures now, but the dynamics is good. The number of people increased. Firstly, everyone was suspicious about this program, but then the militants from one of units, they see that no one fools them and they are not sent to prison. They just go through the court hearings and they have the opportunity to go back home. And if a person who took part in illegal armed formations, if there are grounds to hold this person responsible, our officers say that, sorry, but for 2 or 5 years it will be decided by the court, but you should go to prison for this term. And some people choose this way. They don't want to return to their family dead or just being dug in the forest by the militants. I want to return to the topic of the briefing. There was a round table on the security matters. There were some experts, some former representatives of power, and they said, and now I know, so who has the initiative in the matters of legislative matters? So what is your position, whether we should legalize gambling? Because in the Cabinet of Ministers there was a meeting and the former finance minister said that we should legalize gambling because there is war with Russia and we don't have funds. Maybe it's a temporary measure, but with the support of the state. It's a good question. You know, I want to ask you the rhetoric question. Maybe everyone just should pay taxes, and in such a case there will be funds in the state budget, and we won't need to go this way to legalize prostitution or something else. But speaking seriously, if I ask your question, so there are countries, there are internal practices. For example, in Russia, they planned to create some gambling business in Crimea, to turn Crimea into Las Vegas, and in other states it is legal, but in the United States there are clearly defined territories where gambling is legal, and only there you can carry out this activity. They won't give you the possibility, if you are not adult, you cannot take part in these games. As to online casinos, it's very difficult, and we have data that we seized during search that support that one of the target audience, these people considered children, as their target audience. They called them material, raw material, and teenagers were called fast food in their slang, and half adults are were called food, and adults were and experienced players were called delicate. So in that way they distributed people according to the categories and created special strategies in order to attract this category of people to gambling. And this is the issue about legalization of gambling. It requires broad public discussion whether it is needed. And the representatives of business and representatives of state, and maybe the state want to increase the funds, but also parents should be involved in the discussion, because there are criminals who want to attract children in this business to get their illegal money. So the last question. The number of organizations declared that the number of ATO veterans, about 1,100 of servicemen were detained and are in custody. Is this correct? I don't have such data. I am even shocked of this figure. But you could address this question to the representatives of penitentiary service, and maybe they can tell you about the categories of detained. Good afternoon. I have a question about Lucky Labs. Tell us, please, on the market of Ukraine, there are several companies that are involved in gambling, soft play tech, NetEnt, and others. Why didn't you carry out verifications in that companies? Thank you for your question. I do not follow who was present and who work in the market on such services, but our investigators work with the information they got. And it's not about Lucky Labs. As I stated before, the matter of developing software for such business, it's a matter of moral issues, and we are speaking about factual and physical commitment of supporting the work of online casinos in the territory of Ukraine. Maybe one more question from Ukraine Crisis Media Center. Recently, the lawyer condemned SBU because the funds were seized without the protocol in the numbers of the banknotes. Thank you for your question. I would say that this was manipulation. As a lawyer, this person should know that in case when procedural actions are taken and when big amount of evidence is found that require detailed description, these evidence are gathered and they are sealed in packages, and together with persons they mark these packages, and they do everything that no one has access to the content of these packages, and then separately in a separate room they conduct the investigation, and they conduct the examination of the evidence, and this is the normal practice. And our service confiscate millions of hryvnias and foreign currency. And in the course of the operation, for example, in converter centers or in some operations against bribers, and we cannot fix all the information at site. That's why this money, they are seized, and then accordingly they are they make protocols in the presence of people who were present in the course of the previous procedural action. We had information on the probability of opening the case against Mr. Tkachuk. Could you comment on this? Or maybe the case has already been opened. Thank you for your question. As I know, first this information was provided by the General Prosecutor's Office, and then they rejected this information. And we don't have data on the legal activity of Viktor Tkachuk. We don't have such a data. If we had such data, our internal security would do something about it. We detain our officers for bribery or for treason, for any illegal activity, and also other representatives of law enforcement bodies. This is the end of press conference. Thank you and goodbye.